Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought that was taken because of the president.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind. Sorry, America. We don't celebrate that.
Celebrate
Please. People
anything
are already
non-white.
celebrating anyway. Man, he's like, people are. We're not going to get political. I'm just going to
How can you
stop right
not?
there.
Because what we talking about this time?
We're
Quick
doing
episode.
a bonus episode. Surprise! This is not Tuesday or Thursday. This is the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, or if you're a Star Wars fan,
Revenge of
the 5th. Yeah, Revenge of the 5th. And we're going to talk about the movie Revenge of the Sith. Is that what episode 3? Yes, episode 3.
This is what it's called, Revenge of the Sith.
Sith.
Yeah.
So perfect. We decided to be extra nerdy. We're normal nerds. We decided to be extra nerdy today because we both have watched the movie. It's the 20-year anniversary of episode 3 of Star Wars episode 3s, and we both have watched the movie, so we want to talk about it real quick. And why not? We just watched it, and it's the 5th of May, Revenge of the 5th. So it's like, hey, this all works out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure there are no women listening. So.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
Or watching, because this might be a video, right? Or both.
Yeah. We're gonna drop it as a video.
All right. Maybe we'll get a couple of nerdy views. It's okay to be a nerd. All right, people. You can be a Star Wars nerd. Anyway, do we need introduction? It's a short.
No, let's just start.
All right, let's jump into it.
Yep, let's just start. We're going to talk about this movie, and if you want to know details about it, watch it. It is available everywhere you want to watch a movie. You can buy it. You can
watch it on Disney Plus.
Watch it on Disney Plus. Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about it.
It's a 20-year-old movie now.
I'm trying to remember when I first watched it. Like, actually, I don't remember the day I watched it.
Did you watch it with me?
I don't remember. That's the thing. I don't remember. I was trying to remember.
I remember. You may have watched it with me. I'm not sure. But I know a group of us went to Cinemark in Tinseltown, and it was right before I started working there. Like, I want to say a couple of weeks before I started, maybe a week before I started working there.
I mean, I feel like I had to because it was the summer after my freshman year of college. And I know I was home looking for a job. And so I just don't remember. I had to find my journal to see if I wrote anything about it. So
we probably did. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Why would we watch it?
Why wouldn't we watch it together? Because we saw the other ones together. So
I'm pretty sure of it. I remember it was a group of us. I think Mom was there. I think. I just remember. I remember it being like a group of us watching it. It wasn't just me and my significant other. It was a group of us.
Yeah.
So that's probably what happened. Because I've seen the movie a lot because I worked at the movie theater. So I sat at that was my very, very first movie theater job. I worked at the movies after that off and on for 10 to 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the very first time. That movie was the first big movie, but I had got hired afterwards. So I didn't get to experience the big impact the movie brought people in, but I got to see the aftermath after it's been out for a couple of weeks, and it stayed at the theater for a long time when I got hired. Like, so long. I was a little usher when I started. I was a manager when it left.
Wow. I
am not exaggerating. That literally happened. So it was there for a while.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe until October. It probably lasted until October, honestly. Maybe September.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely was a big deal. It was the end of the original trilogy, the trilogy of the prequels. And it was a movie that, after that, there wasn't a lot of Star Wars stuff, like a lot. immediately. Like the cartoons started happening later, but like, yeah,
we didn't get another movie until 10 years later.
yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, so
So
it's
it's
like
kind of
every
like
10 years.
and
So
that
we're
was,
due for a
and
Star Wars movie right now.
and in that time frame, you got Lucas gave up, like basically sold everything, like because this is the last movie that he wrote, right?
Right, it is. He gave it to Disney. He
Mm-hmm.
became Disney after that.
Yep.
So I
So
think it was still with Fox at the time.
yeah, 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, say taking all that consideration, like I don't remember the immediate response. I mean, of course, we talked about this earlier. Like a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts about the prequels, and so like over time, people have claimed that it's been when it first came out, you can never please
Man.
anybody. So when it first came out, it was always like, "Oh man, this is trash, this is trash." And they go, I mean, when the very, very, very first one came out, like people were in lines for weeks for some strange reason. Do you remember that? Like people
Yeah, of
camped
course I remember
out.
that. They camped
People
out.
camped out for.
See,
Can you
this
even
was a
imagine
time.
somebody
This is,
doing
I
that
know,
now?
nobody would do that now because this is a time where you didn't have assigned seats. That you could just buy your seat early. So you had to choose your seat. So you had to wait and camp out and then be like, oh, now I got first pick of the seat.
Yeah,
Instead of just having your ticket and nobody wanted to sit in the front row. People crazy. They
they
don't
will
do
not.
that now. If you
Yeah, that
camping out
doesn't
now, it's like, what
exist.
is your problem?
Yeah, because I mean, they just don't do that anymore because people used to camp out for everything, like for Best Buy drops. I mean, maybe for new shoes they still do that, but
I did stand out in the cold for about an hour to pick up my PlayStation 4.
PlayStation 4. So you didn't
Yeah.
even camp out for PlayStation 5.
No, because I got the
Yeah.
5 much later, but the 4 I
Yep.
got and it was on sale, and I was like, I waited and I got it. I was definitely one of the first people in line to ask for it. I was very happy.
Hmm. So this
Still use
movie,
it to this day.
that's good. This movie was one that also had bad rap, um, because of it was a prequel. So people were talking about it, complaining about it. What did people say about it when it first came out?
Well, they said that Anakin was whiny, and that's because of the second movie. They were somehow he was whiny. It was somehow him and Padmé didn't have that great of chemistry, and that was because left over from the second movie. And then they mostly said that he turned to the dark side really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And when I rewatched it this time, I would disagree because at the time I
Mm.
probably agreed with those comments. Um, I mean, like it's still cheesy with Padme and Anakin's uh, love with their relationship.
Yeah.
Um, Rewatching that, I was like, yeah, this is still bad with that part, but not the Anakin turning to the dark side. Because people say he just snaps and do it, but I'm like, no, he's struggling. When you watch the movie now, he's struggling through the movie, and then when he does, it's you can see it as he allowed the dark side to take over, and when he
Yeah.
does, you see the personality change.
I mean, if you think the reason, I understand the story. Like, in order for him to turn, there has to be something that caused him to turn to the dark side. Like, because you think about the significance of Episode 3, this is the most epic villain, Darth Vader. The turn, the moment, the time that he turns, like, so it's like this is the becoming of Darth Vader, the origin story of Darth Vader. If there is one, that this is the one. And so you think about like the significance of that. What is it? What will it take for little Annie to turn into to turn into Darth Vader? And so, I mean, I didn't mind the relationship. I did have my complaint about the relationship between Padme and Anakin was more about the portrayal of Padme. I feel like she was in episode 1 was a warrior. Like she was like, oh yeah, like you thought she was just a princess, but no, she's a fighter. And you're like, oh man,
Right.
this is definitely Princess Leia's mama. You gotta tell, like, oh my goodness, like she is legit, like, oh my goodness. But in episode 3, she's just a pregnant wife.
She really is. She
So it's
might as
kind
well
of
be
like
barefoot. She's practically
barefoot,
barefoot.
pregnant in the
She's
kitchen.
pregnant, in the kitchen.
So it's like, when you coming back home, Anakin? When are you coming back?
Right. That's what she is. That's a very good impression of her in episode 3.
So I mean, I feel like it was like, maybe it was the pregnancy hormones that caused her to respond like that. But I do feel like that was the in that if that movie was made today, that wouldn't have happened, because they do a little different with women.
Maybe. Even back then, it was only 20 years ago. They weren't just letting women
But
be
that was
damsels
before the
in
woke
distress.
culture, though. That was before the woke. The woke mob didn't enter in, because they would have had some things to say about,
All woke culture did was make people louder about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When some stuff was still, women weren't at the time being only play the damsel in distress. At that time, they were still the hero in certain
right. I mean, before
stuff.
that, we had episode
Ripley.
1.
We had Ripley and Aliens.
Yes, Ripley. There's a list of things. Yeah, we can talk about heroes or heroines.
Yeah. And you was gonna say maybe Princess Leia.
Yeah, Princess Leia
in the original
was never a damsel. Actually, they kind of tried to do that in episode 4, but they knew she wasn't. So
right. She had too much personality, so she wasn't like that in Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. She saves Luke.
Right. Absolutely. She's the one that saves Luke.
Yeah.
So, but then you got episode 6 and the whole capture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was the 80s.
It's like that outfit. That was obviously. Like, I got an idea for a costume. Imagine with that costume designer conversation.
Right. All right, hear me out.
I got an idea. Okay. So, if you're listening to this and you don't know what we're referring to, just look up Princess Leia in episode 6. You'll see it.
Return of the Jedi, Jabba the Hutt's palace. You'll know immediately. But like we said, no girls are listening or watching right now. So all guys are listening to this already know what we're talking about.
Oh,
so
man. So, it's like I remember watching this a couple times. The last time I seen this movie was right before Obi-Wan came out.
So you watched it more recently than I did.
So I rewatched, and then before that, I rewatched everything in chronological order from episode 1 to up to 9. So when episode 9 came out, I watched basically everything 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, Solo, whatever 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then whatever in between I watched. I just binged it in a week. And so that was a quick watch because I was binging the entire series in a week right before the episode 9 came. But this was different because I saw it in the theaters, and I haven't seen this in theaters since it came out. So I think I maybe watched it twice in the theater, but it was good. It's I remember sitting, and I got the D box, which is the motion seats, and I don't know if I've done D-Box in other Star Wars movies. I'm trying to remember if I've done.
I bet that's good.
I'm trying to think if I've done the other movie. I don't think I did. So the D-Box motion seats, and I've done Star Wars at Universal Studios, which is very interactive, very fun. So I was like, I want to experience it like a theme park, and it felt like that, the flying as soon as the opening credits come in and you're flying through the space. I'm like, this is awesome. This is what is meant. This movie is meant to be on a big screen. That's what it absolutely is. So yeah. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole time I was watching it.
I definitely haven't seen the movie on the big screen in 20 years. So it was definitely, and especially with the 20-year older mind and seeing all the movies that's happened since then. So it was definitely much appreciated, even though back then I watched it for free a couple of times. So this time I had to pay for it. And it was worth it. Mm-hmm. The last time I saw the movie had to be 10 years ago before Force Awakens come out. I remember binging all of Star Wars
before Force Awakens. Okay, so
and Force Awakens is 10 years old now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so that's how I binged it. And so now rewatching it, and I got mentioned Andy, watching it with Andy because it was different. You have three different Andys watching this with me.
Mm.
First one, she wasn't born yet. She was a fetus.
She was a
she
fetus.
Was born. Yes, she was born the same year as this movie, so she's going to be
November.
20.
So yeah, so she was born.
She wasn't born yet.
Was the movie in theater? The movie just left the theater by the time she was born. So yeah,
exactly, it just left. And then she watched it. Then 10 years ago, she watched it as a little kid and got a little more into it. Interested.
So did she watch it for the first time? Then, like, what got her into Star Wars?
Well, she's not necessarily into Star Wars. She's more into Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay,
that's more her space area.
But she'd watch it and she'd talk about it.
Yeah. Well, that's what was fun about watching it now because she can quote it. So I thought that was hilarious. I was like, this movie came out
but
the
she's
same
not into
year.
Star Wars.
Right, she's not that into Star
Wars,
but she could quote this movie.
Yeah,
because when I told her we was going to see episode 3, she was like, "Which one is that?" And I was like, "Well, that's the one where Anakin turns to the dark side." She said, "Oh, you were the chosen one."
yes.
She quoted that whole scene. Wow. I was like, "Oh wow, okay."
Yep. That's pretty cool. So she'll be 20 this year. So she definitely. So watching it with her 10 years ago was different. Watching it now.
She was a little kid, and that was probably her first time watching it. Was 10 years ago.
Yeah, because that was when as you were getting ready for Force Awakens, you were probably introducing your kids to Star Wars, probably.
Right.
Which is kind of like, I think that's part of our father introduced us to Star Wars. We had the VHS cassettes. So we watched.
I don't know if it was quite introducing with me. It was like I was kind of born into it. Just grew up.
I mean, there wasn't a moment where I remember Dad saying, "You need to watch this movie. It's good for you." Like it's like you said, it's kind of like it's a movie we're supposed to watch and supposed to like. I feel like it was definitely a date, our parents' date. Didn't they go to Star Wars to a date? I feel like the first episode.
I don't know. I don't think so. I never heard that. I know he went.
It came out the same year they were married. So
yeah, it did. It did come out the same year they were married. So, and then Empire Strikes Back came out when I was born. I was a baby. So I'm almost as old as Empire Strikes Back, just like Andy is almost as old as Episode 3.
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith. So it's kind of weird how the movies kind of coincide like that. So, but yeah, it's different watching it now, because so much Star Wars stuff has come out now.
A lot.
Like it's been oversaturated to the point now. There's so many TV shows, so many movies, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when Episode 3 came out, at the time, it was getting hate because it was like all we had. See, for us, when we grew up, a lot of people can't say this, but when we grew up, it was only the original trilogy. That's all that Star Wars was known for.
Right.
And so when the prequels came out, this is like, oh, this is this new thing.
And the Christmas special.
Oh goodness! If you want to go down that rabbit hole, there's also some
and the
cartoons.
Yeah. So yeah, that's not, we don't count those.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just the original trilogy.
Yeah. As far as
so
movies,
when the prequels came out, that was a big deal. Like
yeah, like we talked about,
it was like 20 years, 15 years later, I think. At the time, it was 15 years later.
It was like 99.
Yeah, 98, 99. Yeah, 99, I believe. Yeah. It was the first one. So from 99 to 2005, we had the prequels. And so, but by the time the third one came out, it's like the first two left a bad taste in some people's mouths. And so they were already hating on the third one. The internet was still young too, by the way.
It was still loud.
Yeah, internet was young enough to become the way it is today, where you have a lot of haters.
Right, exactly. The internet was young enough to be able to, if you can imagine, just close your eyes for a second. If you're driving, pay attention. But think about the person that would be annoyed and complain behind their keyboard and type up, the keyboard warriors, is what we call and they would be like, actually, blah 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 blah. If you picture that person, that's the Star Wars fans that had the message boards, the
Oh
so
yeah, it
like
was message boards back then.
before Facebook was actually, Facebook started then, so but it was still only college people for that time. So it was
Yeah, but
like
we definitely had message boards,
message
and the
boards.
internet did
Yeah.
affect the movies because Jar Jar had a small part
Oh
by the time
man.
Episode 3
Yeah.
came, which
Yeah.
that wasn't the original plan. I bet. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
he was going to have a much bigger part.
and this is where like, okay, like with episode 1, it was like you see George Lucas had this imagination of all the creatures he wanted to create, and we're like, now instead of having to build a full costume for each person, he can create them with digital computer generation, so
Oh
like
yeah,
this
that
is
was a new
after
thing too
CGI
at the time.
was
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness. And so I think he just went extra overboard with his imagination in episode 1 and just got too cartoony. And so then it's like they kind of, and you notice they didn't have a lot of CGI characters in episode 3.
No, that's because that's the serious one.
Yeah.
I think episode 1 was like the kid one, like, hey,
Yeah.
everybody's happy, 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 happy. It was almost like the Harry Potter movies as they get darker, as they get
That
older,
older.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened with episode 3. You're right. I don't remember too many aliens.
There's not a lot of them. The couple of them, they weren't quite CGI. There's a couple costumes, a couple CGI, but they all got slaughtered. Most everybody, spoiler alert, got killed in this movie.
Oh my god!
So
this movie is like, we also got to say that how important this movie is.
Yes.
So this movie is like the pivotal moment. Like we were talking about this off the air. This movie is the reason for the other movies.
Every movie, every other
if you
movie.
were to watch, if you were to introduce somebody to Star Wars, this is one of the movies to show them.
Yep.
Like you show them the first one, maybe Empire Strikes Back, and this one.
Yeah, because I feel like this movie, no other movie would be relevant without this movie. Like if you think about it, without the events that happened in episode 3, there would be no reason to have an episode 1 or 2. Like why would you, like if this stuff didn't happen, like why do you even care about the past? Like why would you care about this kid? Why do you care about, like it's actually irrelevant. Of course, who's Darth Vader? There's the whole character there that you like, okay, introduce 4, 5, and 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, like all of that, and then every other Star Wars property, you got, other things that kind of round around it. So even talk about Andor, which is literally right after episode 3, so it's like you can talk about the Rebels and you talk about, Rogue One, you can go into that. And of course, 7, 8, you're dealing with the aftermath of a world that was created because of the Republic, the Empire. And so it's like,
this was like a canon movie, like
right,
a canon event.
Right.
This was
if you take this movie out, like Star Wars, because I feel like other movies have important things, but the world wouldn't necessarily be as shifted. There was, you talk about canon stuff, there was actually a quick animation of Legos that did a Star Wars canon, like a multiverse Star Wars, what happens if the canon broke.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
No.
It's really good. It's like things shift completely. They just shift the canon, and so you can kind of see. So I feel like this movie is that thing. Like if you take that brick out, then the whole entire universe would just fall apart. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's how this movie.
Because I mean, this is the movie where we get Order 66, right? This is the classic.
Yes. Everybody quotes that too. Order 66. Everybody talks about Order 66
all the time.
Every cartoon.
Yes.
Talks about Order 66.
And this is when he says it.
It's the official
Order 66.
Right. And also what's so important about this movie shifted Star Wars as well with who survived. Because before this movie, we were told that Obi-Wan and Yoda were the only Jedi alive. And thanks to this movie, it said, no, that's not the case. So
Hmm.
after this movie, we saw plenty of Jedi afterwards that were
That's
hiding.
true.
Apparently, they were
That's
all
true.
hiding.
Yeah, and this movie helped you to see that they were able to hide because that creates more content, which allows us to have rebels, which
Yeah, and
allows
I'm
us to
glad they did
have,
that instead of just being
other
like they're the
things.
only Jedi and that's it. Like Luke's the
Hmm.
only one and all that stuff. Like, no, there's this show, many stories build off of this. Like, oh, this person's a Jedi, and they're like, no, I'm not,
Hmm.
and they hide and stuff because
Yeah.
like that would happen
Yeah.
because we were told that Darth Vader killed all the Jedi. And it's like, no, not really, just some.
A
But
lot of
also, I got
them.
to point out that rewatching this movie 20 years later, most of the Jedi cannot fight.
Oh my goodness.
They went out pretty easily with Order
Well,
66,
I mean, this is the
except for
argument.
the
So
main
you
ones.
got like Order 66. You have
They
the
can sense
clones.
things. They can
They
sense the
should
Force.
be able
They
to
should not be able
know.
to just get shot up by some
Right. They
stormtroopers.
should be
I'm just
able to
saying.
stop. They should absolutely be able to stop those lasers, especially with bad shot stormtroopers. But these were
Well, these are
clone
clone
wars.
troopers.
Yeah, these are
Yeah,
clone. They're not the same
they're better.
stormtroopers.
That's
So
what Andy
they,
pointed out. Andy
yeah,
told me that while we was watching. He said, "Well,
yep,
at least they actually know how to shoot."
right, right. So, I mean, I know some of the clones were recycled into stormtroopers, but yeah. But it was interesting to see that like these were people that they were fighting with through the Clone Wars. Like they were literally made to work with the Jedi, right? In a
Yeah.
sense. Because I mean, was it Palpatine put in the order anyway? He designed them, right?
Yeah, and we did learn later, like after this movie, and so there's a lot of stuff that happens after the movie that when you look back at it, it makes this movie make even more sense. So Order 66, I found out that some of the clone troopers had a, a device planted in their head to follow Order 66. That was almost like the code word. That's why they
Mm,
kind of just snapped like that. And there was a few clone troopers who took that out of their head and disobeyed those orders.
is that the
That's
Bad
what
Batch?
yeah, right. The Bad Batch, for example, they're the ones that did that.
Yeah.
So I think there was others other than them. So there's a few clone troopers that didn't follow Order
Which is a cool.
66.
I mean, that's a cool another way to kind of like create that world because like not everybody followed that order, but that was significant because that shifted everything.
Yes.
Another thing that I think I talked to you about on the phone, and I don't know what else we want to talk about, but I was like, my biggest complaint when I first watched it, and which I think is still probably one of my complaints, is not being able to see Grievous like actually at his like you saw one fight with him, and so it's kind of like
Yeah. So
yeah,
if anyone, no one probably would know this. I don't even know if this thing is on Disney Plus. So there's an animator, the guy who made he made Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Lab. He
yeah. So it's like a
animated.
Cartoon Network
Yeah.
shorts.
Yeah. I can't pronounce his name. Forgive me, but you know who that
He's
is.
obviously not listening, so he doesn't.
I'm sure there's somebody screaming at the video or radio or whatever, like it's
Mhm.
on James Turner-Ostrowski.
Stop it!
That's
Don't try.
that's me attempting to say his name.
Stop trying.
But he made an animated prequel to this movie,
Basically,
and
the
it
Clone
was
Wars.
yeah, it was the Clone Wars before the CGI cartoon. It was a 2D cartoon animated by the guy that did Dexter's Lab.
Right. It kind of reminded me of. It definitely reminded me of Samurai Jack. Was it
Yeah, he's the same guy that did Samurai
same guy?
Jack. My
No
bad.
wonder.
Yeah, same
That's
guy.
it. That's it. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Because it was not a lot of dialogue in that. It was a lot,
Yes.
but it was pretty epic. And
So
so
he
I.
showed General Grievous in that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the last thing that happened is like if you look it up, the Clone Wars made by him,
You can probably
it's
see it on YouTube.
literally, and you watch it right before you watch episode 3, it flows together so perfectly.
Yeah, it's pretty canon.
It's very canon. It's oddly, it's like I thought he was doing it as a one-off thing, like, oh, I'm a fan or whatever. It's like, no, this is actually required viewing.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally canon to episode 3. Always
Which
thought
I
that was kind of
mean,
weird.
it like that show. It shows what happened to him, and watch it, check it out. I like that Star Wars has you jump right into stuff a lot. So it's like you don't necessarily have to see every little detail
True. Yeah, you can
about
just
what
hear
happens.
about it.
And that's just
Because also in that
how
cartoon,
the whole movie.
Palpatine is kidnapped by Grievous,
Right.
and so that's the last thing that happened. And then Obi-Wan and Anakin's like, we gotta go save him. And then the movie starts off with them going to save him.
Which is a good way to start a movie. I mean, I
Right.
think
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
great way. Do it. So that was a great way to start the movie. So yeah, you see
Yeah.
Anakin kill. Now
And
let's.
I gotta say, this is Palpatine at his best.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is Palpatine at his best. He's very manipulative
right,
with Anakin, and he's
right.
just evil. Like, oh, this
Yeah,
guy is.
yep.
This is him at his best, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, and you see, there's no debate because I mean, I don't know if people debate it because it was pretty obvious that he was the emperor, but
Dad called it on
he called
episode
it
one.
episode 1. He said it the moment we walked out of the moment he came up on screen. Oh, that's the emperor right there. Like, how did you what? I don't understand. Like, yeah, he called it immediately.
But
So
watching
yeah,
it and you know everything now, it's kind of obvious. It's not a surprise. I don't
yeah,
even
they
think
don't
it's
make
meant
it.
to be a
Yeah,
surprise.
they don't really make it like a big reveal. Like the audience knows before the Jedi know, but the reveal is kind of organic, so we can kind of tell. Like, okay, yeah, he's obviously the emperor. It's not like a what, like a secret surprise, you know.
Right.
And so I don't know if you can watch the movie without that, but
Right. It's not. Yeah. So
without knowing that already.
yeah. Also, so we got to talk about the fight scene.
Absolutely.
Um.
Absolutely.
So I think a lot of people won't argue with me now about this. Maybe at the time they would have, but now I would say this is probably the best lightsaber fight in the entire series. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it is. And a lot of people, if you think about it, folks start to think about it, like, well,
Mm-hmm.
there's, yeah, I think you might be right. And this is like the most, because I see this scene the most
Mm.
online.
Okay.
People always doing memes of this fight, always replaying it, always, maybe even try to choreograph it and stuff.
Yep.
Like, this is one of the,
Yeah.
that's why I was like, this is probably the
I think I
biggest.
saw a cake the other day with it. It's like,
Of course, that's why Andy can quote it.
because
Because
it's been redone multiple times. But but I mean, I enjoyed. I think the reason why this fight scene is so epic. I mean, it's Obi-Wan wins the fight. And
he doesn't want to fight Anakin.
he doesn't want to fight Anakin. Anakin is full of anger and rage to the point where he almost killed Padmé. So it's like which is kind of because he was thinking Obi-Wan was after him because he's like, oh my goodness, this tension. Which the last time they saw each other, they're like, we'll see you soon. It was cordial, so they haven't even talked that he's been turned to the dark side. But Obi-Wan's like, look, you've been going to the dark side. I need to take you in. It's like like nah, and so
And Obi-Wan can't believe it because he sees video of
yeah, he
Anakin
does see
killing the
video
younglings,
children,
all that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, so he's like
that's
it's
not
heartbreaking for him.
that's his. I mean, and that's he was been training him since he was a kid. Like he was the one that's like, this is the chosen one.
But
You were supposed to be
watching it as an adult, watching it as an adult, watching it now or whatever, I realize, especially getting to know the Jedi, because I don't necessarily agree with everything the Jedi is about. To me, I think they're overly religious kind of thing.
Yeah,
A group of overly religious guys, and which they kind of show that when Anakin talking to Yoda. When he was talking about he wants to save Padmé, and Yoda's like, "Don't worry about it." Basically, that's basically what he told him. Like, don't worry about trying to save people. You shouldn't be attached to people anyway, kind of thing. And you see, so it goes different with Obi-Wan because he cares about Anakin, but he got to let go of that to face him, and he does.
That's true,
but kinda, not really.
Yeah, because that's what made the fight scene so powerful.
Yeah.
What are you about to say?
I was gonna say, I think Obi-Wan flirts with the dark side a little bit. Like he can, because he loses his temper a couple of times. Like I'm talking about back in episode 1, like when he fought.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the name?
Well, there's warnings. Yeah. I mean, he definitely warned him about his emotions, and as a young Padawan. So it's like, I think that every Jedi has the temptation to turn. I do think that and that's the interesting thing about the Star Wars world, that we see the ability to be able to switch. And even when you go to, whether you like it or not, looking at Darth Vader's grandson and his dark side adventure, It's like, yeah, like he didn't have to turn and he switched. And so it's like there's a it is a line, but it's a interesting dynamic. And so, but the fight scene, I think, seeing them fight at their height, because I feel like Darth Vader is powerful and he goes deeper into power, but he's also, I don't think that I feel like Anakin was more powerful than Darth Vader. You can argue with me about this.
I mean, they fight each other 3 times altogether, thanks to the Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
In all 3 fights, Obi-Wan kind of has the upper hand.
Yeah. I mean, he gives his life up in episode 4 to him.
Right.
He wins the other 2. So he spared, but he didn't think he spared. I think he felt like he spared him, but he like, yeah, he
well,
wins the other.
When they first, I think it wasn't much of a fight, but when they encounter each other again after this fight, Darth Vader does kind of have the upper hand, because I remember him dragging Obi-Wan into like water or something like that. He drags him, so he's like he proved that he is stronger.
Yep.
But Obi-Wan still beats him. That's what I'm saying. Right. He still has the upper
So I mean,
hand.
the thing is, Obi-Wan is pretty powerful. Like we can't, and I think this definitely shows. This movie shows that he is, and he's able to withstand the dark side and still strategic. And I think it's probably because he wasn't clouded by his anger, you know. So because he wasn't clouded by his emotions and his anger, he was able to fight. But there's a lot of pride that Anakin had, because he's like, look, even when he's like, look, I got the higher ground. Like, you're not going to be able to attack me like this. I don't, whatever he said, he's just like full with rage. He's like, it doesn't matter. I'm strong. I can kill you. Now, this is the thing I wanted to say too about Anakin and the Jedi. Throughout the movie, it really did. He was trying to submit to the will of the Jedi, but they really didn't. And it was, I mean, I understand their wisdom. They're trying to be wise, but it's also like, you're in a crisis situation here with this war, and there's things that's going on that you actually would be helpful to use one of your strongest warriors. And I do feel like, not saying that if the Jedi didn't shut him down, if the Jedi didn't shut Anakin down more, maybe he wouldn't have turned to the dark side, you know?
Well, this is what happened. That was Palpatine manipulating things too. He was like, because Anakin was okay. He was okay with where he was. He wasn't happy with it. It's like he was content. Yeah. Which I can be like that myself. I'm content with certain things. I'm not happy, but I'm content. Like, oh, this thing could be better, but I'm like, I'm content with this. I'm okay with this. Mm-hmm. Palpatine's whispering in his ear, you should be a Jedi Master. I want you and the council to be my representative. And he's all like confronting them, because he even tells Palpatine, like, well, I don't know if they're going to allow that. He goes to them and they're like, yeah, we're not going to allow it. You're not, you know, and he's all like, oh, man, you know, so, and then meanwhile, Palpatine is whispering in the ear, no, you're better than them. You're better than them. You should do this. You should do that. You can do that. You're more powerful. And then so it gets into his head. Mm-hmm. He gets into his head, especially once he's on the dark side. I am more powerful than them, because he is one of the strongest warriors.
Yeah.
So that's what happens, is all that manipulation.
Which they show that well. That's why this movie is so important. They show that it wasn't just one conversation that turned him.
Right.
And I think that it wasn't even, because you can argue, and this is another thing that we can complain about. I don't know how much more you want to talk about, but like the way that Padmé died, we talked about that on the phone. The thing about
she just gave up.
That's what it says. Say what you said.
I said that because they said she's just lost the will to live. And I forgot what I said. I said she was just like, no, never mind.
Don't want to live. It's like the George, like, we're going to save your life. No, I don't want to live.
They just couldn't explain why, you know, her body was probably just weak.
Yeah.
I think it was just a bad dialogue for that.
The droids don't know how to communicate that.
Maybe that's what it was.
That was what it was. They just didn't understand.
They don't understand human emotion.
Yeah. We don't know. It looks like she just lost the will to live. So I think, but you know, he does the force choke hold for the first time on her, right? So it's like the love of his life, the mother of his children, the one that he really wanted to turn the dark side to save. Like, that's the thing. It's like he has these visions of her dying in childbirth, and the Emperor is like, look, I can help you. I can teach you how to save people. You know, she don't gotta die. And
yeah, that was the other reason why
that was the response, the difference response from Yoda. Yoda was like, you can't hold on to that, you know, don't
right.
love.
But Yoda was right. That's the weird thing about it. It's the hard truth, but Yoda was right.
But maybe there was a better way to say that. Like, Yoda, can't you see that he would turn to the dark side if you say that?
But Yoda didn't know that he had a secret relationship going on. Yeah. That's why. Even though he was like,
he couldn't sense that though. He's Yoda. Like, couldn't you tell?
I know,
because I'm like, think about it.
Obi-Wan sensed it later.
Obi-Wan knew. Like, the woman was 9 months pregnant. You know, and he's sleeping at her house.
I know, right? Night. Oh, I'm still protecting her.
Like, come on. This episode, they were not secretly in a relationship. They were obvious.
It's like so obvious. They're like teenagers who everybody know y'all together. Come on. Because like when he comes back from his mission and they're like in the hallway and stuff.
Yeah.
And they run to each other and like after everybody walks off, I said they're barely out the room.
Yes. They're like, where's Anakin? Oh, he's talking to his
he's
baby
mama. Making out
she's
with
pregnant.
Padmé.
Like, she's pregnant. Yeah, he's just making out with Padmé. Oh, wait. Like, yeah. Episode 2, they did their secret little island love dance and things like that. But this was like, they weren't even a secret. And so.
No. So,
but technically,
but
he didn't know.
Palpatine was definitely manipulating him to be on his side because he had an end goal. And of course, I think it's kind of dumb that Darth Vader didn't immediately get on Palpatine for, when Padmé dies. It's like, well, she died. It's like, because the whole point was like, you could bring her back, right?
Yep, right.
And they just kind of glossed over it, and he's working for the Empire like nothing.
Yeah,
but it was that's a little hole in the plot for me with that.
What else would have happened though? Because I'm like, he would have kept work. He would have been because there was a point where he was like, I can overthrow the Emperor, and we can be, and to get joined.
I thought that was thrown in too early as well because he said that to Luke, and I think that was way too early for him to be saying that when he's talking to Padmé. Yeah. So, like I said, of course, the movie's still not perfect. There's some
that was just a shout out. That was like a thing. I think that was a line that was a direct quote from, so you can know this is the same person.
Yeah.
He's got the same mindset that he never really was. Because who killed the Emperor?
Right.
He absolutely, so he ended up killing the Emperor.
That's because he goes back to the good side. Though,
right. So maybe he was remembering, like, you didn't after all this.
Wait a minute, Padmé. He could have did that. That'd be great. Andy in that dialogue. This is for Padmé.
Okay, that's funny.
Last thing I want to mention is Hayden Christensen as Anakin. He's getting the love now.
That's good.
Like, folks was, when 20 years ago, folks weren't really talking that much about, oh, that guy, oh, that kid, he's not that great. And, they weren't really saying that much. He would get hated on sometimes. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's too whiny, all that stuff. Now, people freak the fuck out when they see him. He is getting he is in so many pictures. I was actually at a con that he was at. I could barely get to the.
I understand.
I did get to see Obi-Wan speak.
Nice.
What's his name?
Ewan
McGregor. I did get to see him in the midst of a crowd of people. I didn't get a chance to get not even remotely close to Hayden Christensen.
Yep.
Even though we were in the same building.
I saw a video which I was like, I sent it to you. I was like, man, I wish you're in LA. You could have went. But it was
there's a lot of
opening night
in LA
with Ewan McGregor and Samuel L. Jackson at a premiere.
No, it was Hayden Christensen and Samuel Jackson.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hayden Christensen. Yeah, that's right. Yes, Hayden. Yes, it was. You saw it. Yeah. Which was even more epic. They were responses. So, like, oh my goodness.
And he's come back and played Anakin a couple of times.
Yeah, that's true.
And I thought all right, so he came back for the Obi-Wan show, which I think Obi-Wan should have been a movie, not a show.
Yeah.
Like folks hated the show, but I think it's definitely a sequel to episode 3.
Absolutely.
It's a direct sequel to episode
Absolutely.
3 because
Yeah.
everybody that's alive at the
All
end
the
of
actors,
episode 3
yeah.
come back
Mm-hmm.
for Obi-Wan, all
Yep.
of them. So that's a direct sequel, but like, man, I forgot what I was going to say about it though. Man, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
It's all good.
Well, I know now. So but yeah, Hayden Christensen does a good job in that show. But in Ahsoka, everyone talks about his cameo in Ahsoka. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, yes! Everybody was so happy. And I didn't really care for the show Ahsoka, except for his episode.
Yeah.
When that episode he comes back, I was like, yeah, this is like one of the best Star Wars moments.
Powerful. It was because it was like it took some of the animated time frame and made it live action, and it flowed into the memories of Ahsoka, and it like sold the tension of him as a Jedi training a Padawan, and then ultimately turning to an evil dark side. Like it showed all of that.
So, right, yeah, and it showed that he had both.
Yeah,
he was like, yeah, like he's dead now. He's in the afterworld, but he's like, but I have both. Mm-hmm. Like that's when when you're one with the Force. I think that was a perfect example of showing him being one with the Force. Like he has the good and bad of the Force. Yeah. So he's like So when he was talking to her, he's like, yeah, you remember me, good Jedi Knight Anakin. I was also Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. But I have that under control. Mm-hmm. Like I'm both. And I was like, I thought that was a very good depiction for him in Ahsoka. And it was a perfect episode. Like that's one of the best, like I said, I think that was one of the best Star Wars moments. And I think other people would agree with that, with his appearance there.
Yep. Okay, one last thing and then we'll wrap up. And I say this in all seriousness. I'm really upset that the woke mob got a hold of this script 20 years later, 20 years in the future, 20 years in the past. Let's talk about Trump as the emperor. That was just really
bad. Guaranteed if this came out today, those people would have been very upset. How dare they? How dare they? It's like this is 20 years before it even happened. Like,
yeah, that's crazy. It was kind of like when I was watching it though, I was like, yeah, this looks like someone that's taken over a republic and making it a dictatorship. That's what the movie's about. So
I want to see a Star Wars movie where there's people who are pro emperor.
Yeah, they're there. There are absolutely people there. And I think that's part of. We kind of see Andor has some of those people.
Yeah, Andor definitely shows. That's what I'm gonna get back to watching season 2 because I think Andor shows what it's like living under the Empire.
Right.
I think that's mainly what the show's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right.
So, yeah, we're not going to do this for every episode of Star Wars.
If it comes to the theaters.
So that's our talk for Revenge of the 5th of May.
Mm-hmm. Peace. Good night.